San Antonio Spurs head coach Gregg Popovich in a press conference at the end of the season press conference as the Spurs are not making the playoffs again as they hope to get the number one pick and get to draft that big man that's in the G League or wherever. I don't know where he's at. He's somewhere, but this prize big fella that they hoping could be to give them another 20 years, like another Tim Duncan run. That's what the Spurs are hoping for as they tanked. They were a bad team. They put together a bad product this year. They haven't really been good in the last few years, ever since Tim Duncan walked away and retired. Now, but Gregg Popovich, he's been very vocal and woke on a lot of issues. He's been very vocal about social justice stuff. He was all over the TV screen in 2016 talking about he bought into the Mike Brown fake hands up, don't shoot narrative. He bought into a lot of this stuff and he's doubling down on it on his SWJ rhetoric ever since 2018 after his wife died. He seems to be going all out. It's almost like a guy who's making a deathbed confession, right? Because, and the reason why I say that is Gregg Popovich was born in East Chicago, Indiana, right? Back in 1949. And I don't know what the demographics were in East Chicago, Indiana back in those days, but today, East Chicago, Indiana is about 90% minority. I mean, Hispanics and blacks are basically, that's their city. Now, I don't know, maybe it was always their city. Maybe it was a much more diverse back in the 40s and 50s. But we know Popovich was born there. He also went to school. I think he went to Maryville in Indiana, Maryville High School, if I'm not mistaken. Millerville. I'm just trying to remember the details here, but I briefly glanced over a couple articles. Two areas that are not today, those areas are very liberal, very Democrat run in the state of Indiana. Especially East Chicago. I mean, and they have a very high crime rate, which is expected for most cities that are majority minority. And I wonder if something now, if my if my theory is right here about Gregg Popovich, and you wonder how Gregg Popovich was back in the 40s and 50s, especially if East Chicago had those same demographics as they do today. Like I said, I don't know. But if they do, and you wonder what type of relationships had Gregg Popovich had back then, or what his thoughts were in the 40s and 50s. Well, not 40s, but mostly 50s in this part of the town. Did he have a favorable view? Did he think highly of the black community or black people or minorities? Now, that city was a very industrial city. It was one of the industrialized cities in the whole country at one point. A lot of industrial factory jobs and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know. But my theory is maybe Pop has some type of thoughts back in the days and he has changed his attitude because he started coaching basketball. He went to Air Force, right? See, we always thought that Pop was a type of military guy, like he was very strong in leadership, and you'd be surprised. You would think he would have been a conservative. But maybe it was the other way around. Maybe Pop was always like this, and he finally figured out, hey, here's my chance to go all out because, I lost my wife, my kids are grown now. I could just free ball it and be the woke coach that I am. Or maybe he realizes that his coaching career has taken a steep dive and he wants to end his career as the social justice warrior coach because he went from arguably being one of the greatest coaches, and he still is one of the greatest coaches, but he could have probably been the greatest coach. At one point, I had him as possibly the best coach. I had him over Phil Jackson, and I still do from a coach's standpoint because of how he put together the Spurs team over the years. And not only was he a coach, he was also in the front office. Phil Jackson sucks in the front office. He was a failure in the front office. So Popovich has him beat. Now you can say, well, what about Pat Riley and all these other people? Yeah, Pat Riley's up there as well, of course. You couldn't go wrong with, in the heyday of Popovich or Riley, guys who have wore both hats. Many other great coaches out there who have only worn one hat and had a lot of talent, like Phil Jackson, who I think is a bit overrated. But it's not about Phil Jackson. This is about Gregg Popovich. So Gregg Popovich, who wants to take away guns, that's just what he wants to do. He wants you to not be safe. He wants your gun taken from you. That's what he wants. I don't hear Gregg Popovich talking about the high violent crime rates of East Chicago, Indiana. By the way, they have a very high violent crime rate. Their unemployment is at 12.9%, nearly 13% unemployment rate, which is way above the national average, I might add. They have a high crime rate. This is a place where he was born at. This is his area. This is his town. This is his stomping ground. Why hasn't he spoke up about that? What has he done to improve East Chicago, Indiana? I'm pretty sure they got a lot of guns and a lot of violence running through there. But Popovich wants to talk. He wants to take your gun away. He wants to go after the law-abiding citizens because he thinks that will stop violent crime, which it does not stop violent crime. He always references other countries. Oh yeah, like other countries, we got to do this. This is a guy who went to the Air Force or went to Air Force. Not sure if he actually served or not. If he's a real server or he just, But a guy who served wants to do away with the Constitution and get rid of the Second Amendment. He went after the NRA and the lobbyists. Now, the lobbyists, they are pieces of shit, a lot of them. They are. But I think the NRA is our last line of defense. And while they may be perfect and they may not be perfect, they may have a lot of stuff that may not be good about them. But the one thing that we do know is that they're fighting to keep the 2A alive. And anybody who supports the 2A is good in my book. Because the 2A is not really about the local criminals in the street. It's more so to keep the government in check. Once the 2A is gone, everything else goes with it. The 1A goes. And speaking of the 1A, you saw the FBI. If you guys didn't see the FBI's latest list of extreme words that they're now calling extremists, they're going after speech. And if you don't have the right speech, you could be labeled as an extremist. I talked about this on my other podcast, the one that's not sports related. I talked about this a couple of years ago. I said it's going to be at some point where the FBI and the government is going to go after speech, and they're now doing it. But it's a lot easier to do this stuff when they take your guns away. If they're doing all this now, just imagine when the guns get taken away. When the guns get taken away, they're going to go after everything. So whether you agree, whether you are emotionally invested or upset about the shootings that are happening, but you're not upset about inner city violence, where's that same energy, Gregg Popovich, for the cities that you travel to when the Spurs are on road trips? Are you out going into these communities? When you visit Chicago, when the Spurs are in town taking on the Bulls, are you out speaking in the inner cities about gun violence? Are you doing that in LA? Are you doing that in Memphis when you go see the Grizzlies? Where were you on John Morant flashing a gun on Instagram, promoting that culture? Is your team playing that type of music in the arena? You are the president and the coach, so you control a lot of that. I wonder what type of music is being played at Spurs games for the players. What are they playing in practices? It seems like you only have smoke for the politicians when it comes to shootings in schools, which is very terrible, I might add. But the school shootings don't even come close to all the shootings and murders that are happening in inner cities. Inner cities are where your team travels to play basketball. A lot of your players are related or are friends or may even know some of these victims in these shootings that are being victimized every day by high crimes. But where are you on that stuff? But instead, you pick the easy target. Oh, I want to go after legal gun owners. I want to take away the Second Amendment, and the media eats it up because they think, oh, look at Popovich. He's woke and he's a social justice warrior. He's calling it out, and they using your clips and they're spreading it around and like, oh man, Gregg Popovich is the man. He's he's speaking out about this stuff. He cares. He doesn't care. This guy does not care about victims. He pretends to care. He doesn't care. He's playing the game. Maybe they gave him a script. Maybe they're paying him well to do it. He's running cover for the Democratic Party. He doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't. He knows it's an easy target every time there's a shooting. Oh, we got to go after take the guns away. We got to ban guns. But when there's no school shooting, he ain't nowhere to be found. So it's either racism, police brutality, or school shootings to take away guns. These are only the real three issues that he jumps on the bandwagon with. But he doesn't jump on any other bandwagon, right? He'll jump on the defund the police movement. He'll jump on the let's take away guns movement. He'll jump on racism. It's almost like if maybe he's covering for something. Look, I'm not trying to say that he's got a history, he's got a past that he might want to keep under wraps. But it just seems very odd that how he's just jumping out of the window to every single time. He's got to have an opinion on this. And he's strongly on this topic, but not on other topics like the inner city gun violence, which is a lot more. Because I'll tell you why they don't do that. Because if people come out and talk about that, then it'll almost justify law-abiding citizens to go out and have guns. Because they're like, well, we got to protect ourselves. We're going to be victims of crime. But don't you understand, Greg, Coach, that this rhetoric is the reason why people feel like they need to go out and buy more guns? Not only just for the government, as that's what the 2A is about, but also to protect themselves from areas that don't have police because you guys wanted to defund the cops. So you want to defund police and expect law-abiding citizens to just sit back and not protect themselves from criminals who will still get a gun because they can get guns. You can never take guns away from criminals. They will always get a gun. If they don't get a gun, they'll always get some kind of weapon. When you're not prosecuting crime, it makes it a lot harder for the public to trust the government. And how you don't see that, Coach, I don't know how you don't see that. Maybe because you live in a nice, wealthy house and you have security and you have armed guards at Spurs games and everywhere you travel. So you're good. So you don't have to worry about that stuff. But the average person who works 9 to 5 and doesn't have security, their only line of defense is their gun at home. And in some areas, in some cities, they can't even take the gun with them. Their gun is at home. They got to go to work to come back. And they still could be a victim of a crime at some point before they get back to their house. Because many cities and areas, you can't carry a gun on you. Like, especially if you live in blue cities. And the criminals know that. The criminals know what areas don't have guns and who doesn't have guns. That's why you don't really hear about crime in areas where people are allowed to carry guns. You rarely hear about it. You rarely hear about some guy running up and robbing a victim or shooting somebody in an area where people are allowed to carry guns. You don't see it. There's a reason why. So, Coach, you should just stick to the X's and O's and stay out of this whole SWJ stuff because it's not working for you. It's really not. Really don't want to hear some 74-year-old white liberal man telling us about taking guns away. We don't want to hear it. Most people don't want to hear it. You're 74. You just retire. You go in your life. Not in your life. I mean, like in the rest of your life, living off your wealth. Enjoy your family. You're going to be safe no matter what because you got money. You're going to have security. You're going to have private security system, private guards, and all this kind of stuff, you're gonna be good. Why even feed into this social justice stuff? It's just really weird that why it took you to the age 70 to decide that now you want to start talking about this. I think there's something else going on. I don't have any proof. I'm just speculating, but I believe that he has a past that he wants to keep under wraps, and he figured this is the best way to play along. But let's listen to Gregg Popovich and what he said in his press conference. Let me see if we can pull this up. Play that.
Amendment, the freedom. It's a myth. It's a joke. It's just a game they play. I mean, that's freedom. Is it freedom for kids to go to school and try to socialize and try to learn and be scared to death that they might die that day? But Ted Cruz will fix them because he's going to double the number of cops in the schools. That's what he wants to do. Well, that'll create a great environment. Is that freedom?
The Second Amendment is not a game. The Second Amendment is not a game, Coach. It's not. It's not a myth. It's not a game. It's for real. It's serious. And this is a guy, this guy went to Air Force. He's been around a very long time. 74 years old. He has the nerve to call the Second Amendment a myth, a game. The Second Amendment is not only for Republicans, but this is the division that they're trying to cause here. They're trying to, these word Republicans and all this other stuff. They're trying to divide you to the point where even if you are a left person, a Democrat, a moderate Dem, or center, right, left, whatever you people call yourselves, they're trying to get you to be gilded into supporting a position that maybe that the other side likes. So it's like, if I keep pushing this out there to say, hey, this is only the Republicans that like 2A or all this other stuff, then that means that if you're a Democrat, then you're like, well, I got to be against it now because if I'm not, I'm going to be called a right winger. So this is how they try to get you. They try to build off of emotions. Don't fall for that crap, people. I'm telling you, the 2A is not just for Republicans. It's not a Republican amendment. Okay, it's not. It's for every American. So for him to say that is completely out of bounds. Then he talked about complaining about, oh, what are they going to do? Add more security to the school? Yes. Yes, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Some of these places, they have no type of security guards or officers there. So I don't see the issue with that, adding police to schools. You have police at basketball games, at arenas. You got police at banks. You got armed guards at banks. Some stores, even some big grocery chains, you got armed guards. So I don't understand what the problem with that is. Why is he so uptight over that? Oh, what are we gonna do? How's that gonna be? How are the kids gonna learn? Well, they're gonna know they're safe. That's how. When they walk into school, they're gonna know that they're safe. And if the guards are there, a shooter's likely, armed guards are there, a criminal, a shooter is less likely to take that task because they're going to say, damn, I may not get to complete my objective because if I get to the school, I'm going to get gunned down, which is common sense. A deterrent from any criminal with a gun to decide, oh, I'm going to go shoot up the school, well, I better think twice because there are armed guards there, there are police officers there. So yes, deterrents do work. I don't see an issue with having police officers at schools. It's not going to do anything to kids. Kids are not going to be traumatized. Trust me. A lot of those kids, some of those kids go back to. Hey, wait. Hold up. Forget about traumatized. Gregg Popovich, the people in East Chicago, Indiana, where you were born at, do you think they're traumatized when they leave school and head home back to the neighborhood and they gotta go and walk through the gang bangers and the drug dealers and all the illegal activity every day? Or you think those kids are traumatized? Because you want to really care about kids being traumatized. I could list. There's 100 things on the list, and cops with guns protecting the school would not be on that list. So let's just cut the bullshit right there, okay, Coach? You're full of shit with that. You're just saying that shit just to say it. You know it doesn't make any sense. But those reporters are not going to question you on it because they're afraid of you. Let's play the rest of this video. He said some more too.
Or is it freedom to have a congressman who can make a postcard with all his family holding rifles, including an AR-15 or whatever? Is that cool? Is that like street cred for a Republican?
See, and here he goes again. Republicans, street cred, AR-15. Look, Republican, AR-15. These are buzzwords that they use, man. They're trying to guilt people into not taking this, not defending, not being on the side of being able to carry a gun. This is all this is. This is performance art. This is a performance by the coach. He's performing. He's at the Comedy Cellar performing. This is comedy hour. Play it.
That's freedom? That's more important than protecting the kids? I don't get it.
He says, is that more important than protecting kids? So kids, freedom, AR-15, Republicans. Just look at the words that he's using here. Protecting kids, and who said anything about not wanting to protect kids? Protecting kids would be putting armed guards and police officers at schools. That would be protecting kids, not taking away the Second Amendment. So even he is kind of contradicting his own self and his own statements about protection of kids. We all want to protect kids. So why do you, in one sense, he's like, we're going to put armed police in the school? That's going to traumatize the kids. And then now he says, we got to protect kids. That's going to protect kids? Yes, that will protect kids. Not your solution and taking everybody's gun. That's not going to protect kids. But why are they against police? This is another anti-police scenario. He's against police guarding schools to protect children? So who do you want to guard the school? Social workers? Oh, wait, are you going to guard the school? Maybe you're going to go out there, right? After practice, hey, leave practice, head over to guard the school. I'm going to go out there and teach them how to run the triangle offense or some shit, or run the boxing one. Is that what you're going to do to protect the kids? Are you going to protect them? Like, what are we talking about here? Come on, coach. Got some more.
The greed of the gun lobbies and the manufacturers is obvious. We all know that. Money talks.
Yes, that's for anything, though. The lobbyists, the gun lobbyists, yeah, the manufacturers, yeah, they're in the business to make money. Just like any other goddamn thing that's running through politics and any business. And they're making a lot of money because people are fed up. People see how the government is heading. They see the overreach that the government is doing. So people are going out to buy guns, which is exactly what you should do. You should go out and buy more guns. So yeah, the manufacturers are going to make money. I don't think that I don't even think that the manufacturers, the gun lobbyists, need to lobby anything. I think most people understand that, hey man, you need to have a gun. You need to protect yourself, protect your family, because the government will not protect you. The government is not going to protect your family. Even local and state governments don't care about you. Look at all the criminals that they let out of jail. Look at the local prosecutors. Have you ever thought there would be a day in your life where prosecutors are now acting as defense attorneys? You're the lead prosecutor, which is your job is to put away criminals, and you're letting criminals out. What do you think people are going to do? They're going to protect themselves. I don't understand how Gregg Popovich is not seeing the connections. He's not connecting the dots. He wants to connect the dots with the gun lobbyists and the manufacturers and all this stuff. He wants to connect those dots, but he's not talking about the root causes. He's not talking about the real issue. Why does he want to skip over the real issue? Because it's not popular. And this guy, he's 74 years old. He's not a dumb guy, right? He knows the root causes of this, but he doesn't want to go there because he knows that they won't allow him to.
But the cowardice and the selfishness of the legislators who are so scared to death of being primaried and losing their job, losing their power, losing their salary, you'd like to get each one of them in a...
I find it funny that he says scared to death to lose power and their jobs. Well, Greg, what about you? What about your buddies on the left side of the aisle? They seem to be scared to call out criminals and call out the real violence, the real gun violence in this country. I find it funny that he would say someone is scared and lose their power. I'm pretty sure every politician in DC, right or left, don't want to lose power, and they're all going to do whatever it takes to keep that power. It just so happened that the right is on the right side here with the Second Amendment. I mean, they're on the right side here, folks, whether you agree or don't. They're not perfect. They do a lot of fucked up shit too, as far as many of them are not great politicians either. But when it comes to defending the 2A, they're on that side. So I think that's the right side. I don't know what Gregg Popovich is talking about, but the only thing I know is that he wants to take your guns. And he's making a plea for that.
Room just one by one and say, what's more important to you? If you could vote for some good gun safety laws that most of the public agrees to.
We already have gun safety laws. We already have that. Why do they keep saying vote for gun safety laws? There's already gun safety laws out there. There's already laws on the books. I find it funny that the left loves to talk about voting on for laws when they don't even follow the laws that are currently on the books. They don't enforce the laws we have now, but they want to add more laws? That makes no sense. And they always want to create laws that attack people who are not committing crimes. Why?
Would you do that if it saved one kid? Or is your job and your money so important to you that you would say, screw the kid? What's in your mind? And I think about one amendment, the freedom.
And then he plays that ultimatum like, oh, would you rather save a kid and pass some laws, or you don't care about the kid? Like, he's trying to play the word game here. Like, everybody, no one's saying they don't want to save kids. They already came with a solution. You don't like the solution that is being presented, so now you're trying to play woke and social justice. And it's just weird. I don't understand that. But Gregg Popovich wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. He wants to take away your guns. And I think he's way out of bounds with this. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you support Gregg Popovich? Or do you think Gregg Popovich is a complete clown and just needs to go away? At least on this issue. Let us know in the comments. You can hit us up, sportsstudy@protonmail.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and Twitter at Sports Steady and Sports Steady TV.